up, y'all? It's your girl Danielle, and welcome back to the Healthy Her and Wealthy Her podcast, where we talk about motherhood, life, spirituality, and everything in between. Listen, we have new episodes every Monday and Wednesday, and you do not want to miss what we have going on. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Healthy Her and Wealthy Her podcast. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you want to hear us talk about next. Let's get into the episode. My 7-year-old came home talking about she got a boyfriend. I know. She too young. She's not supposed to be having a boyfriend. Trust me, I get it. And I agree. But allow me to tell you why I did not shut my 7-year-old down and tell her that she's not allowed to have a boyfriend. A couple of weeks ago, my daughter came home talking about this little boy. And I'm not going to say his name, but she came home saying how she likes him and he likes her. And at first it started off a little weird because she's like, well, he likes me and he doesn't like her, but she thinks that he likes her, but he really likes me. And so I was a little weary because why is my 7-year-old sitting here talking about she got a boyfriend? So I began telling her, like, baby girl, you don't need no boyfriend. You don't need that. Like, we don't have time for boys. Boys are yucky right now. We don't have time for that. Well, she was very persistent. And if anybody knows my daughter is persistent. And she continued to come home and tell me about him and how much she liked him, how much she enjoyed playing with him, how he would give her slime and he would give her, candy and toys and stuff. And I realized that there was nothing in that moment that I could tell my daughter except for, baby girl, I'm happy for you. And don't get me wrong, I do not agree that my daughter needs a boyfriend. I don't agree with that at all. But I also realize that I'm seeing a boyfriend from an adult perspective instead of from a little girl's perspective. And so what I decided to do instead was that I told her, I said, baby girl, listen, I'm glad that he likes you, but I need you to be aware of certain things. If he hits others, he'll hit you. If he yells at others, he will yell at you. If he doesn't do his work, we don't have time for him. And so what I began doing was, instead of telling her, you don't need this, you don't have time for this, you don't need a boyfriend, when she's so adamant about having a boyfriend, I began to teach her what it looks like to have a healthy relationship. What does it look like to be with somebody who cares about you? Now I know y'all are 7 saying, girl, that girl is 7, honey. She does not need this. I know. I know. And a part of me knows that the day is going to come where, he may not like her anymore. She may not like him. And, I may have to comfort her or whatever. But I'm not focusing in on that moment. I'm focusing in on the fact that my daughter is adamant about something that I don't necessarily agree with, but it's out of my hands and it's out of my control. And so what I decided to do was teach her what right looks like. When I was younger, I found myself in relationships, and I'm not saying I wasn't 7, you know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong, I had a boyfriend at the age of 3. Don't ask me why, but I had a boyfriend at the age of 3. And so I get it. As, it's a human thing, right? But children are so innocent. Children do not see a boyfriend and say, ooh, I want to do this with him. And we insert something inappropriate, because I feel like sometimes as adults, we project our own insecurities, our own fears, the things that we've gone through onto our children, forgetting that our children may not even be thinking that. So when I asked my daughter, like, well, what makes him your boyfriend? She says, well, he says he likes me and he calls me his girlfriend, and we play together on the swings, or we play together during recess, or he gives me things. And so it's very innocent for her. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm very clear. Baby girl, y'all need to keep your hands and y'all lips to yourselves, because I'm not leaving anything up to chance. I'm a firm believer that I want to be able to have the hard conversations with my daughter before anybody else. I don't want her learning about nothing from anybody else before she can hear what we value at home, what our family morals, values, and standards are. And so, like I said, when I was younger, a little bit older than her, I found myself in relationships. And I did not feel comfortable telling my mother or my parents in general, because they always had these adverse reactions of, you don't need that, I don't approve of this, I forbid you. And my parents never forbid me of anything, but you know those parents that sit there and say, you can't do this, you can't do that, I forbid you. Well, what does that breed in children? That breeds sneakiness. That breeds sneakiness, because once we begin to shut our children down and we begin to invalidate their feelings, invalidate their experiences, they are no longer going to come to us. Eventually, we will no longer be a safe space for them, and they will not want to come and talk to us. And I don't want that for my daughter. So I know y'all are enjoying today's episode, but we have to get into our sponsor for today. And today our sponsor is Pretty Brown and Poppin', and it is owned by yours truly. Yes, your girl Danielle is a lifestyle transformation strategist, and I help women just like you rediscover their truest, most best versions of themselves. Listen, I created several different workbooks that help you become the best version of yourself and reclaim the woman that you were always supposed to be. Through my own journey, I realized that healing takes a lot of effort, and a lot of it is guessing. What am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be changing? What am I supposed to be addressing? Why is this an issue? And I have created several different workbooks, like the Becoming Her Again workbook, to take the guesswork out of it. Listen, this is a powerful workbook. I created a 5-step process that is going to help you reclaim yourself and never lose her again. The only thing missing from your spiritual journey, from your healing journey, and from your life right now to make it easier to reclaim the best version of yourself is this workbook. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Pretty Brown and Poppin'. Also, you can visit my website. It's prettybrownandpoppin.square.site. That's SITE. You can use the code GOALCRUSHER and save 10% today. Let's get back into the episode. I knew as a young girl that I could not come and talk to my parents about certain things. And this is never to bash my parents, ever. I love my parents, regardless of their flaws and all. I love my parents. But the way that they responded to me sometimes made me feel like it was not safe to come to them and tell them some things. And one of those things was about my relationships. And because of the things that I experienced when I was younger, I found myself in abusive relationships. So my first abusive relationship was when I was 13 years old. And he acted just like most of the men in my life. And so to me, that's what love looked like. My mother didn't know about that up until probably 3 or 4 days ago. And she was like, I wish you had come and talked to me. And deep down inside, I just felt like I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't come and tell her that somebody was hitting me. I felt like I couldn't come and tell her that I quote unquote loved this boy and he said he loved me and he would give me things but then hit me and then give me things and then tell me that he loved me and then hit me and then, and then embarrass me and then, tell me he loves me, because that was what was normal for me. And I don't want my daughter to ever get to a point where, one, she thinks that that's normal, ever. I don't ever want her to think that that's normal, which is why I gave her the wisdom that I gave her of, if he hits others, he will hit you. If he yells at others, he will yell at you. Because I feel like people tell on themselves, and how they treat other people is how they're going to treat you. And that goes both ways. I tell her, you can't be a good friend to somebody if you're yelling at people. So I'm not just sitting here saying, baby girl, other people can't act like this and you can. Mm-mm. It's overall. And so what I'm learning to do through this early patch of, mommy, I want this and I don't agree, is I'm learning to just teach her how to make the right decisions. I'm teaching her our values and our morals and our standards as a family. Because the world is going to teach her whatever, right? She's going to be exposed to things. There's nothing I can do about that because she's not only going to be underneath my roof anymore. I used to homeschool, so I had a little bit more free reign over what she was exposed to. But now I don't. Now I sent her back to school, sent her back out to the world, and I kind of have to trust that the things that I continue to instill in her and that I have already instilled in her are going to guide how she makes decisions. I feel like too oftentimes as parents, we want to protect our children. We want to hold on to them very, very tight. We don't want them to experience certain things. And while I understand that we don't want our children to experience hurt, We don't want them to experience certain things. They're going to be exposed to things. And some things they're just not going to tell you about. And, one thing that I always want my daughter to know is that we have values and morals and standards around everything. One of the things I tell her is that, people do what they want to do, and we let people do what they want to do. As long as it's not affecting us, we respect everybody. I said, but we let other people do what they do, and we do what we do. We let other people believe what they want to believe. We believe what we want to believe. Because we can't control everything and everybody. The only thing that we can do, especially for our children, is help them understand how to make good decisions. What do we believe? What do we do? What are our morals, values, and standards? And so I want to encourage anybody who's listening, try not to invalidate your children. It's easy, I know, because our children come home and they say some of the most insane things where, as an adult, like, that just don't even sound right. That don't even sound like it's going to work out. But invalidating your children only shuts them down. I want you to think about a time where you had something that you were really excited about. And whether you were a kid or an adult, because invalidation can come from any time, in any place, in anybody. And imagine going up to somebody and telling them how excited you are about something. You have this pureness, this innocence in your eyes, and they shut you down. They say, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't right. You shouldn't even be doing that. But this is something that you're so excited about. Think about that sinking feeling that you feel when you're super excited about something. You're very passionate about it, you're very adamant about it, and then somebody shuts you down. That does not feel good. And what are you going to do next time? Are you going to come and tell that person? Probably not. You will probably not come and talk to that person anymore because that person is no longer a safe space for you. They invalidated your feelings and they invalidated your experiences. And I don't want to do that for my daughter. I don't want to do that for my daughter. I want my daughter to know that even though mommy doesn't agree, because I'll tell her when I don't agree, she knows that she can at least come to me and talk to me. The next thing I want to say is I don't think that we take raising our young children serious enough. They are in the foundational years of their lives. They're only going to be children for but so long. And, the things that we teach our children now, the things that we instill in them now, the things that they experience now really shape who they become as adults. And we can't always dictate their experiences, but we can dictate how they see their experiences. We can guide them by teaching them broad concepts about respect and integrity and having boundaries, because those things aren't just about one part of your life. It's about several different parts of your life. If you teach your children how to have healthy relationships and know who cares about them and who loves them, then when they go out into the world, they're going to realize this friend is hitting other people. I don't think I want to be friends with this person. Or this person is yelling at other people. I don't think I want to be friends with that person. It's teaching our children. We have to also teach our children emotional intelligence, understanding their own emotions so that they can understand the emotions of other people. These are things that are vital to our children's overall development. If we want them to grow up to be functioning adults in society that can make good decisions, that, that do the right thing, we have to teach them and guide them, right? We have to teach them and guide them and make them and mold them and be very cautious about the things that we allow them to be exposed to. There are some things in school that my daughter is exposed to that don't come up right away. So my daughter rides the bus now, and there are a bunch of different types of kids that are on that bus. And I'm very liberal when it comes to things with my daughter, and when it comes to things in the world. But I do have very strong beliefs that I want to make sure that my daughter understands. She doesn't necessarily have to adopt them, but there are just some things that we do and there are just some things that we don't do. And cussing is one of them. We don't really cuss like that. And I don't ever say to my daughter, stop, don't curse. I say, those are adult words. Because, people around her curse, and I don't want her to think that people who curse are bad. It's just that adults, this is something that adults do. This may get a little uncomfortable for some people, but I'm going to say it anyways. Even when it comes to your children being exposed to sex very young, I'm going to be very cautious when I say this because I don't want to offend anybody, but our children are going to be exposed to things young. How do I know? Because I was exposed to things very, very young. And I did not feel comfortable telling anybody because I didn't even know what it was. I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, and I know about things that I should not know about. I've seen things and experienced things I should not have experienced. And although my parents had some conversations with me about it, it was never a flat out, this is what adults do. This is not what children do. Adults do this with adults, and that's it. And I'm a very blunt, honest, straightforward, direct person, especially when it comes to my daughter, because she needs that. She doesn't understand the fancy, all around, going around the world, beating around the bush type of communication. She doesn't understand that. She needs it straight. And I tell her, when I was homeschooling her, we actually had a lesson on sex where we talked about, private parts, and we talked about these different things, but what I instilled in her was we have our own values, standards, and morals when it comes to this. And the biggest thing that I hammered into her was sex is for adults. It's not for children. It's not for children. And I didn't want to make it seem like it was this taboo thing or, it was bad. It's just this is something that adults do. And I feel like I was preparing her just in case, because she may not experience the same things that I experienced. But baby, just in case, just in case you do, just know that this is not for children. This is for adults. And every now and then, whenever she comes home from someplace or, she comes home from school, I ask her very blunt questions, and you can fill in the blanks there. But I ask her very blunt questions because I never want her to be confused about what is right and what is wrong. I never want her to think like, well, I just thought that. No, it's very black and white. It's not for children. It's not for children. It's for adults. And so anybody who's listening, I just want to encourage you to take raising your children a little bit more serious. Try not to invalidate their feelings. And it's not easy. I'm telling you, I have to prep myself for these types of conversations because I know that they're uncomfortable for me. And that they may even be uncomfortable for my daughter, but I'd rather they be uncomfortable now than for her to experience something and be uncomfortable and I don't know it. And she doesn't feel safe enough to come to me. And teach our children boundaries. We have to teach our children boundaries. What do we think is right? What do we think is wrong? And your boundaries and your standards may be different, and that's okay. But you can only instill in your children what you identify in yourself. I identified in my past that there were things that I don't want my daughter to go through that. And she may never go through it, ever. But at the end of the day, just in case you do, baby girl, here is what we think about that. Here is what mommy says. Here's what mommy needs for you to do in case this happens. And there's no guarantee that she'll take my advice. There's no guarantee that she will make the decisions that I think are right. But at least I remain a safe space for her. So that when she makes mistakes, when she doesn't necessarily do what I agree with, she knows that she can at least come to me. Even if she's feeling shameful, she knows that mommy is not going to shame her. Mommy is not going to yell at her about it. Because I love her enough to know that she is going to experience things, that I'm not going to be able to control everything that she goes through and the decisions that she makes. The only thing that I can do is instill in her the values that I want her to carry with her the rest of her life. And I honestly would rather her experience some things young, not the things that I experienced. But I'd rather her experience certain things young so that they can build up, so that we can have these conversations and I can really build her up through these things. So when that boy comes back and says, I don't really like you like that no more, I like so-and-so, she may come home crying and it may really hurt her feelings. But at the end of the day, she knows that she can come to mommy and mommy's going to take her out to get some ice cream. I'm going to tell her she's beautiful, that boy crazy, who do he think he is? And that, anybody would be lucky to have her. That's a moment where we can really bond. And that's going to strengthen us so much instead of me being like, I told you so. I told you ain't need to have no boyfriend. You hear the difference in the tone, the difference in the message, the difference in the intention. Instead of shaming her, I'm comforting her. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to comfort your children. Don't invalidate your children. Take the things that you say to them a little bit more seriously. They love you. They need you, and you are the safest place for them. Remain the safest place for them. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to share with another extraordinary woman in your life. Also, make sure that you're following us on Instagram at the Healthy Her and Wealthy Her podcast. Until next time.